You coming? What? What? What in the world is all this stuff here? Diapers, toys? Emmett, that guy doesn't clean up anything after himself. Oh man, okay. You coming, Nick? I think he said he's on the way. So we'll just go ahead and get started. So welcome, Carl Horner here. Pastor Nick probably on his way. We are looking at 2 Timothy 4 verses 9 through 22. This is our last week of the real versus fake. And we've been looking at the idea in 2 Timothy there is false teachings. And so Paul is trying to let Timothy know what's the real things to pay attention to and what's the fake things to make sure you're against. So just looking at some of this passage here, just noticing some things. Here's what Paul is not focused on in this passage. In verse 10, he's got a thing here. He talks about there's a guy named Demas who's in love with his present world, and so he's deserted Paul. So Paul's not going to be, so for Paul, the fake then is the present world and loving the present world. You know, you don't want to be involved in that, and Paul's not focused on that. When he asks for things to be brought to him, he says, bring the cloak I left in Carpus at Troas, also the books, and above all the parchments. So yeah, he needs the cloak, but he wants the parchments even more. So he's not really focused on his physical comfort very much there. And then if you look at verse 18, he's talking about, Paul's in prison, and he's not focused about getting out of prison. Instead, the Lord will rescue me from every evil deed and bring me safely into his heavenly kingdom. That's what Paul is focused on and concerned about, not about being rescued out of prison. So, when you start looking at this passage, in other words, those would be the fake things that Paul says, you don't want to be worried about these things. The real things then, the things that he is focusing on, in verse 13, that's the part about, and above all, bring the parchments. Parchments are either going to, you're going to write on a parchment. So it's either they're blank parchments so he can write more letters to the churches that he is involved with, or it's writings that have already been given to him and he needs them in order to know what correspondence is going on between himself and the churches, and he wants to respond to that. So he is very, very much focused on that. And then in verse 15, he's been talking about Alexander the coppersmith and how he's done Paul great harm. And then 15 says, beware of him yourself, for he strongly opposed our message. For Paul, he's very, very focused then on how do we make sure we get the message out? And what are the obstacles in the way? And so that's very, very real for him. And then the last one, verse 17, is very much that same kind of thing. But the Lord stood by me and strengthened me, so that through me the message might be fully proclaimed and all the Gentiles might hear it. For Paul, it's very, very important to realize what is real is furthering God's kingdom. Anything that gets in the way of God's kingdom is going to be the fake stuff. And you have to stay away from the fake stuff. Anything that distracts you from doing what it is God has for you. And I would say in our present world today, well, there's one of the toys for Emmett. In our present world today, hectic schedule, having a lot on your minds, having a lot of things to do, always being busy, that can take you away from what it is God wants me to do. What is it that I need to do to further God's kingdom? And so I think it's very important to recognize that each for our own lives and think, okay, so what is the real and fake that I need to make sure that I focus in on or take my focus away from. So for the last several weeks, of course, Nick and I have been doing some kind of a real and fake. Lots of times it's been food, taste, that kind of thing, trying to figure out what the real and fake is. So this week, this is the fake. Okay, these are not Emmett's things. These actually come from Nick's office. The fake would be the idea that Nick's going to walk in here any minute and help out. The real is Nick has this week off. He's at home with Emmett and Michelle. He's taking care of Emmett. He's taking care of Michelle. He's doing the things he needs to do as a father. And so bless him, that's where he needs to be. And not here with me trying to figure out some of this stuff. So God bless, and sermon will be on the YouTube channel by Saturday night, usually Sunday morning for sure, and hope you can make comments on that, and hope to see you in that fashion. Take care.
Have you switch to the other side of the couch.
Okay. You bet you can't tell which side of the couch I'm on now, though, can you? Okay. No, I'm talking to you. I'll be looking to you, buddy. The guy right sitting right there. I'm talking to you. See how that goes.
Okay.